So we have few people. Cheryl, then I think I remember you also joined last time, right? Cheryl?
Yes, I did.
Right, great. Then we have Stefan, this is OPS, Rejwan, we have James, right? So maybe the way it works is like we make it quite interactive and hopefully you can hear me good. Am I good, audible?
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Great, great. So let's keep it again very interactive. And if you already have the tool, then I would directly sort of want to jump into it.
Oh,
If you don't have, then maybe I can provide some brief intro. So, Stefan,
yes,
yeah, do you have the like CrawlQ access already?
I do. Yep.
Okay, great. Then you are not completely new to it, right?
I've played around with it. Does it mean that I actually know what I'm doing? Possibly not, but I did the best that I could.
Right. We also have Rejwan. Hi, Rejwan. Yes. So anytime you have questions, you can drop me also in the chat box. We wanted to keep it very interactive, right? So anytime you wanted to stop me, please stop.
Moves into a new phase. Power's back on for 2/3 of New Orleans again. That's good news, but the death toll still.
We are also having a live CNN coverage, I think.
Hey, hi Harish.
Hi.
This is Rezwan here.
Hi, Rajman. Nice to be meeting here to you.
Awesome, man. Basically, what I was looking for from this app or from this webinar is the whole market research side of the using the tool.
Right.
I am hearing myself.
I see that there is some echo from your side. Maybe you joined 2 times, but
is it better now?
Yes. I think.
Okay, cool. Right. So basically, I was looking at all these AI tools that can help me do a bit of market research on finding the ideal customer avatar, and I love your reference for Fred from Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards. I've pretty much followed all of your videos online. So, I mean, what I'm trying to get at is I want to pick a topic. Like I write copies for e-com coaches and consultants. So someday I'm writing for a credit repair coach, or some other time I'm writing for a coach who want to sell their course on how to sell on Amazon or like Shopify, stuff like that. Now, my current research process is like going into forums and groups and stuff like that and finding out the pain points and, people asking questions like, how do you find products? Do I have to buy from China and stuff like that? So these are the kind of questions or concerns or pain points that I'm trying to extract using an AI tool. And I'm trying to understand if CrawlQ is that tool for me.
Right. Sure, we are going to cover on that expectations. Any other point that you wanted to mention, and maybe we can ask on a round if there are more expectations, then it will help me to steer you guys in the direction where you are looking for, because I can imagine that you have different use cases, different work, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I feel the same way too with the research part. This is Shadell, but also just making sure I'm using the actual creating my customer avatar correctly as well.
Right.
Like the niching down part of it.
Right. Any more thoughts, James? Stefan Nilu, your name is here quite difficult for me to pronounce.
That's good to know. The market research, I think, is going to be the most helpful piece of it. I got started on a couple of that last week,
Right.
and then was really curious to see how to make the content automation work with it versus just copying and pasting what I put in the market research.
Right. So let's go into that, and I'll try to switch between the actual workspace and some theoretical part, right? Because that's also important to understand if we are making right choices, right decision. Now, I wanted to touch very quickly on the narrow down part, right? This is specifically going from niche to sub niche to micro niche. What does that exactly mean? So again, it is important to focus at one person at one time, right? That's what we are doing in this app. And this niche is a person. This person has a lot of attributes, right? This person is a person you can take on a coffee date. If somebody you can't take on a coffee date, then this is not a niche. Let's be as clear as possible. If you can't take someone on a coffee date, then this is not your niche. And niche is one person. This person has emotion, dream, desire, feeling, troubles. They have worries, they have suspicions, they have interest, they belong to groups, they have failures, they have a lot of things going on, right? So next question you will ask me, what customer avatar, right? And what is the difference between customer avatar and niche? So in CrawlQ, we start with one person. We try to understand this person in a way that we can create statistically significant number of these persons. And these persons then become our avatar. So we're sort of generalizing one person with the help of AI, and this one person generalization become an avatar. Avatar is mapping to many such people, right? There are statistically significant number of people. Then your market is born. So customer avatar is an abstract version of this real life version of niche, one single person. And of course, I borrowed this acronym from Copywriting Secrets from Jim Edward, where he came up with this idea of Fred. Fred has fears, he wants results, he has expectations, he has desires. Now, why we want to define Fred? Because we want to understand what words Fred use, what's going on inside Fred's mind, what conversation plugs that you're going to have on that coffee date with Fred, and we want to understand better what's going on inside Fred than Fred understand himself, right? Now, the idea that first question I want to quickly address is when you start with workspace, right? You come up, you have a business idea, and you quickly are challenged with some onboarding questions. And these onboarding questions are on the niche, sub-niche, micro-niche, vertical, and ideal prospect. So let's take a real life example that might be even better. I have some question in the meantime, so popping up. So I mean, James says, I'm interested in knowing if I can segment the training research by suppliers. In my case, those suppliers are cruise lines, and each one of them have a slightly different consumer persona. I'll come on that. I think the best answer will be more evident when we walk through some use cases and example. But let me jump here on a different use case. So far I was working on some of these examples. When you start, you can create a workspace. Workspace name is a business idea that you have. Here is 3D printing, artificial intelligence, content automation, digital agencies, any business idea. But remember, the business idea is not the niche. Niche is always a person. You also attach this with a domain name. Doesn't mean at this stage we are doing anything with this domain name. This was just an idea to associate each project with an identity. An identity here was most likely a domain or a website, because that's where you're creating content for. If you don't have a website, it's also https example.com. That's also perfectly fine. At this stage, we are not trying to crawl any website or anything. It's just associating our workspace with a specific domain. Imagine a use case for agency or yourself if you're working with multiple buyer personas. You want to keep a track, like this workspace is for this domain. Even if it is similar domain, it doesn't matter. You can just put the same domain name. I want to take another interesting topic here today on this because I have quite talking about other topics like 3D printing or other things. But let's take another topic. In this, my niche was young adult who want to travel to Belize for fun. Okay, it's very common, right? It's not something difficult here. Young adult who want to travel to Belize for fun. Now, how I'm narrowing it down is that is very important. So backpackers. So from young adult, I have switched to backpackers who loves snorkeling in crystal blue water and enjoy the perfect Caribbean sunset. So you see, I have a problem solution space, a problem space, or let's say current situation space. And I am not going from, let's say, population of 1 million to, let's say, 2050. And from 2050, I'm going to 100. I'm not doing narrowing down in that sense, right? I am narrowing down my niche in the problem solution space. So young adult, from young adult to backpacker, right? Who loves snorkeling. See the sentences like Belize for fun. The fun is converted into something like a person who's a backpacker, who's a young adult, right? So still backpacker is a young adult. This young adult loves snorkeling in crystal blue water and enjoy the perfect Caribbean sunset. Now, I'm again narrowing it down in the problem solution space, right? I'm not switching still from young adult. I'm still saying young backpacker before hitting to college. This is still a young adult, right? Before hitting to college. Want to have a relaxing vacation on the beautiful island of Kaya Kalkar. Rent a bike, enjoy a beachfront massage or soak in the sun. So if you see my wordings, I'm still in the same problem solution space. I just try to make it as storytelling or more deeper into the problem solution space, right? My vertical is travel to Belize, and I know one person. This is one person where I talk most of the time about how to start with one person. So we name this person. This person is Chris. He's 17-year-old, young adult, backpacker. He is going to college after summer vacation. He wants to spend 2 weeks in Belize with his friends. He is struggling to find the best itinerary and looking for a detailed tour guide so he can plan his holiday and enjoy the most part of it without worrying about where to start. So you see, in this sentences, there were some specific components. The components were who they are. So he's Chris, 17-year-old. What is a specific situation? Is a specific situation is that he's going to college after the summer vacation. He wants to spend 2 weeks in Belize with his friends. This is a specific situation. What is their problem? Problem is that it's struggling to find the best itinerary and looking for a detailed tour guide. So what is what they want, what is their problem, plus what they want or desire. Or you can combine both, want or desire. Here he's looking for a detailed tour guide so he can plan his holiday and enjoy the most part of it without worrying about where to start. So it was a desire. Now, I want to stop here and I wanted to ask whether you are following the same method or are you following a different method? Or where is the real struggle in this thing that we just did?
No struggles.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that this part was pretty easy for us to put together.
Right. So this will be easier, right? When you know Chris, right? When you know Chris and you definitely have some solution or a guide or something or a detailed step-by-step guide how to start, where to start, what to do in Belize, right? And you are some sort of service provider here. So this is what you are. You are the company, Nomadic Met, nomadicmet.com. You're targeting, you're sort of founder and owner of Nomadic Met. You're decision maker, CEO. You're targeting students, 17-year-old, young adults. Boston is a location. Their occupation is a student. They are single. They have 4 or 5 years of studies experience, maybe 0. You can also put 0 here, doesn't matter. They are college student, they are single, and mostly they are searching on the Google. So hopefully it makes sense. It's an important business question. It's not need to be that difficult, right? We don't need to sweat over it, because if we are providing some services to Chris, I think this is the minimum information we can come up. We don't need even AI for this, right? This is like minimum business information for yourself. And then it comes to semantics. So here comes the part where you wanted to combine with SEO strategy also. And in order to fill some part here, you can also check some other resources. And these other resources inside CrawlQ are as follows. So when you go to market research, you have the spying wizard and you have the search intent discovery. So if I say travel to Belize, travel to Belize, I search, and then I'm presented with some information. And that's exactly what Rejwan, you told in the beginning, that your current approach is to go to different places and try to figure out the pain point. Most of the content creation happens around keywords, topics. And in this app, there was a deliberate attempt to sort of not think in terms of topics, keywords, but think in terms of thread. And that's first thing here, you can unlock insights. Not I'm saying they're perfectly designed every time that they work like that, but you're forced to think, what worry would my Chris or target audience would have about travel to Belize? What benefit would my target audience would have from travel to Belize, right? What questions they will have basically. Can I afford it? Is it too far away? Are there better things to do? I can't find out any information. I don't know enough about it to go. My family member went there once. It was awful. I don't think I should even try it. It's not so you see, it's kind of steering you to not think in terms of keywords, but problem, solution, space. What suspicions would my target audience would have about Belize? We have not even like provided in detail about Chris or anything. It just was a general topic, right? And from information from here will help us to narrow it down, not in terms of topics, again, keywords or search volume, but really in terms of the problem, solution, fear, suspicion. And then we can go here more deeper. So travel to Belize, suspicions. Of course, it take you to the search again, and it's just from the country, location, and your personalization of the Google search. It will present you some ideas like suspicions, Belize to travel advisory, for example, right? You can get more ideas here. Travel to Belize dreams. So here again, you will get some more ideas about different sites they're talking about this topic. The main point here again was to create a framework around these modifiers, suspicions, desire, mistake, enemy, and armed with some information from here, you can always enrich the information that we were, sort of trying to get in the first place, right? So you can also go here on the social media. You can search on the Facebook groups, pages, Twitter, Pinterest, the LinkedIn groups, YouTube channel, social media, right? The other hashtags. So for example, this gives you a lot of hashtags like about this topic. Video searches, podcast, directory, listen note. I don't know if you know, it's a search engine like Google for podcasts. Okay, news story, Medium, Bing, Yahoo, news trends, question answer, information database like Wiki, Quora, product. So there you can go as deep as you want in this research. And nothing stops you to spend like 5 minutes or a 5 hour. It's on you how you want to be more specific about it. But here we are collecting some information, some golden nuggets that we wanted to sort of input in those sections. You can also combine some idea or data from search intent, because you want to know like how people are searching about it, right? So travel to Belize. So, for example, travel to Belize, COVID requires the first one, right? It's obvious. Travel to Belize requirements, travel to Belize coronavirus, COVID test. So if you are currently writing something related to this, and if you wanted to cover some information here, then these are sort of topics that are trending in the search, right? Then there are different types of questions people are asking. What travel plug Belize? What is needed to travel to Belize? What are travel restrictions to Belize? What you need to travel to Belize, or what do you need to have to travel to Belize, right? And then there are many types of questions here. You don't need to spend like hours and hours on it. You just need to pick up some things which really make a connection with your skills, with your own domain knowledge, right? If you are an expert on travel to Belize, then you have some sort of domain knowledge in it. And you just pick up that thing to connect with Fred. It's not important to focus too much on the keywords, topics, because then you're going to lose yourself, right? You wanted to have very strong connection with the Fred. And that's what you wanted to use the power of this app to stay focused, consistent, and differentiated, right? Because if you focus too much on what, because everyone will be doing this, right? Everyone will be focusing on the keywords. But if you focus on what is your expertise, because there is a kind of sweet spot where you can sort of connect with your friend, and that sweet spot is your own skills set, right? Consider kind of Venn diagram where you can intersect between your own skill set and the person that who need help. And this person is Fred here, or in our example, 17-year-old student, Chris, right? So I just took some side track here, but our main focus was still here, okay? Our main focus was really here, where we wanna to enrich this information. And why I took a side track is to really pick up some topics which are trending, or people asking some questions there, or to get more context. And that will only happen in case where you're not aware of the topic itself, right? There are different scenarios when you develop content. One type of scenario is that you are working just as a content writer. You get some topics, some kind of brief, content brief, and it has some specific buyer persona pain point. And now you're expanding on that, right? So you don't know yourself, you're not a domain expert on travel to Belize, but there are some guidance for you, and you can start from that guidance, right? So this is scenario one here. And in this scenario, you can easily take sort of a quick gains approach. So you can roughly define what is your niche, sub niche, micro niche. You don't need to be super specific. And you can go to a quick gains approach, where you can directly jump to the AI content writer, because in that scenario, you already have a rough idea of your ideal customer avatar. And this use case is perfect when you're a content writer and a content brief is submitted to you by agency or company CMO directly. This content brief also possibly contains the target audience and certain topics or keywords. And you just want to fill the content without necessary information to research and write the blog content without going deeper into buyer persona. So if you don't want to take a deep root or in detail approach where you wanted to touch the buyer persona in detail, you can apply this quick gains. But remember, the quick gain has a low quality output, and also it's not differentiated. You can cover general items like travel to Belize, but if you're really speaking to that 17-year-old kid.
I heard that. Besides her, do you see any other doctors, like a specialist?
Hi, Jeremy. Yes. Can you repeat the question?
What's their name?
Can you repeat the question?
I think
I think
Jeremy
he's
has
on
to
another
mute
phone call.
himself.
He just needs to be
Okay.
muted.
Sure. yeah.
Okay. And again, I'm a licensed sales agent in the state of Arizona on a recorded line here. And
Jeremy, if you can mute yourself.
we're on a call.
Mhm.
See here, got him.
So here,
Okay.
again, this was a use case, right? If you are having a content brief and you don't want to go to direct in deep buyer persona research. But the main value of this app is that you wanted to take a deep dive. And when you wanted to take deep dive, then I just mentioned to you, there are two situations. One is that you already know Chris so well, right? And because you know this person so well, you can come up with this statement.
Okay.
It should not be difficult to come up with this statement. Young adult who want to travel to Belize, because you know someone who is a Chris, right? This
Okay.
person is a backpacker.
And then have you provided me all the names of your current primary care doctors and any specialists you currently see?
Can you
Okay.
mute him on your end, Harsh?
How can we mute? Let me
Should be able to.
right. I think make host. I can put Jeremy back to waiting room.
Yeah.
Yes, it's back to waiting room.
Thank you.
Okay. Then yes, so I'm sort of distracted. So, but I just mentioned to you that it is possible that in a second situation, you have no concrete idea who could potentially be your friend, right? That can also happen. And there's alternate scenario. You don't know this person yet, right? And you also don't know the topic so well. So in this case, you don't know 3D printing as a topic, or you don't know, for example, what is the requirement to travel to Belize. You're new to the concept, you're new to the idea. Then you can take this route and do this deep dive search, right? And again, as I said, the unlock insight will force you to think in terms of target audience. So again, it's focusing around the suspicions, dreams, desires, mistakes. These insights will help you to think in terms of the questions that Fred might be asking, right? So, and again, I mentioned to you to try to get a quick rough idea of your ideal buyer persona. In this case, this is something that you can also deep dive into all these information, get more and more. You can spend more time, right, as you want, as you have time, because here you need to develop understanding of the topic itself, like what is 3D printing. You see here, I already walked you through, and then I just mentioned also before also that please don't confuse this with SEO keywords, because we are really focusing on the on the problem solution space, right? That's where our main focus is. So again, the idea here was, if you are new to the topic itself, then you will take this detour, right? You will take this side step. If you are not, for example, if you know the topic, right, you don't need that detailed insight. If you know your niche, if you know someone whose name is Chris, right, and you have a very good idea that this is the person whom you can take on a coffee date and talk, then I would start directly from here. And that's where the insights also come into play. So when I say generate insights, these insights give you a lot of more ideas that you can refine here. So it was not the case that I might have very concrete idea about how to define the Chris, but when I started with rough ideas, save it and generate insights, it comes up with new ideas that I can incorporate, right? So ideal prospect overview here, insights. The person need a detailed tour guide. That's what his desire, right? A detailed tour guide will help him plan his holiday and enjoy the most part of it without worrying about where to start. A detailed tour guide can provide articles that are detailed yet concise for each stage of the tourist's journey. What defines a niche? Again, it provides you some kind of information that is useful for you to frame your answers back here, right? The use case of these insights that, of course, it take your information, restructure this information in the form of the instructions that are given in the backend. The instructions are mostly the definitions. So what is niche? What defines niche? A niche is a specific group of people in a specific a specific group of people in a specific situation with a specific problem and a specific desire. This is the instruction that is to the user, but also to AI, and then some examples, right? So you see what is going as a play in the background is some sort of copywriting instructions to these insights. These insights take instructions and your inputs and restructure them in a way where you can sort of optimize this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Let's try to admit Jeremy again. Shall we do that?
Only if he behaves.
Let's see. I try to admit.
Coverage, so.
I don't think Jeremy,
Right.
can you hear us? Yeah, at this moment, I think I could mute also Jeremy, so that's fine, right? Again, let's continue. So I mentioned until here, like when I come to this section, if I know already my target audience niche, then I can come up with these topics very easily, right? If I am in doubt, I can also take the help of those other two features I just mentioned, search intent discovery and spying result, to get more ideas. But these are the seed topic. So travel on budget to Belize. This was my seed topic. Then I put another topic, getting around Belize and main things to do. And then I said fill with AI. At this stage, what is happening? It remembers or it collects the knowledge so far what it had, what we supply to it as a user. Based on that knowledge, it restructure this information, right? It restructure this information in long tail topic 2, 3, 4, and you can see travel to Belize, travel on budget to Belize, where to stay in Belize, what to wear and pack, island of CrawlQ's, how to spend 2 weeks in Belize on budget. This is headline, right? Niche headline is Belize budget travel guide, right? Sub-headline is how to spend your time in Belize, right? You can see these headlines, sub-headlines are in a specific structure. Now they are not exactly the way it is defined to the instructions, but still they are in headline, they are in a specific structure. And this structure is imposed because of this copywriting information that is coming as an instruction to AI from the backend. And this is not the information that you need to fill by hand. You just need to come up with 2 ideas. If your previous information is good, I think it will restructure in quite good way. And you can see the impact here directly also. I again put 2 inputs here. Travel to Belize is super inexpensive. That was shopping statement. The idea here, and again, you can also read here in the helper text here. The helper text says, you don't need to exactly start in the same way, but it's a shocking statement, right? The idea here is that many people believe in X, but the truth is opposite of X, right? So here the truth is opposite. Many people believe that travel to Belize is very expensive, but you're saying, hey, this is not the truth. Truth is travel to Belize is super inexpensive, right? Inexpensive. So this is first statement. And then emotional payoff for Chris before going to summer school, before going to college, and during the summer vacation, full relaxation, right? He's going for fun. Given this 2 seed input, I say fill with AI, and it comes up with on all these ideas. Now you can say it's repeating my information. Yes, it is repeating, but it is structuring your information in a way which can be useful for us for content creation. And it's not all the time repeating, but it is coming up with new ideas also. So single big desire, travel to Belize is super inexpensive. That's a repeat, I think, from the shocking statement, right? There is also desire. Single big problem. He's struggling to find the best itinerary and looking for a detailed tour guide so he can plan his holiday and enjoy the most part of it without worrying about where to start. Right? This is the problem statement we also supplied in the beginning when we wrote it, right? And it restructured and identified this as a data element for AI for as a single big problem. So if you are trying to understand me, what we are doing here is we are giving a specific set of instruction, and AI is helping us to slice and dice and fit this information in a structured way, right? This becomes now a single big problem, single big agitation. Chris wants to plan a 2-week vacation in Belize with his friend. Solution is travel to Belize is super inexpensive. Question: what is the best way to explore Belize and things to do in Belize? Now, not necessary that you wanted to take them as it is, right? You wanted to modify them. And the way to modify is, again, you save here, you generate insights. You don't need to generate insights if you know already how to modify them, right? You can apply your own knowledge also here, right? You don't need to really take all the time help of AI, because at this stage, you're also applying your own knowledge to it. If you are the more you put here, right, more you make changes, make it super specific, save it, more these insights will help you to come up with a new idea, new angle, right? So that's important. You also need to understand the limitation of AI and see at this stage, don't over expect from it, right? Because this is still working on the seed information. It has nothing. We started from clean slate, right? It's like a child who know nothing about Belize, and we started with clean slate. We started putting some information, and then it just AI at this stage is really helping us to structure that information in terms of questions, results. Single big question: what is the best way to explore Belize and things to do in Belize? Right? It's not bad. It did quite good job here, quite decent job here, right? That's what Chris is interested in. Result: Chris and his friend spent 2 weeks in Belize without worrying about where to start. There's also the desire, so it did quite good job here. Roadblock is traveling. Pain point is Chris can't find the best itinerary and looking for detailed tour guide to plan his holiday with friends. Some curiosity of adjectives like easy, boring, stress-free, secret. Belize is the most affordable vacation destination in Central America. This was not the information that we provided anywhere, right? It comes up with its own. Belize is the most affordable vacation destination in Central America. I don't know if it's affordable, but you can also have your own idea here if you're a domain expert in travel to Belize. If you are not, then you already are planning to do some research, take extra notes, and make this information better. More differentiated input you provide here, you save it, you generate insights. These insights are going to work on this information. It's not the idea that you generate insight and then fill this information. No, because these insights should have your inputs and the copywriting sort of instruction. And then they comes up with the best fit approach. Now, if we see what was suggestion for here, I think it is some up here. But you see single big mistake, spending too much time on vacation can be a mistake for this person, Chris there. Single big feature, tour guide that will help him plan his holidays, right? Single big benefit, Belize is a small country, so you can explore most of it in 2 weeks. Now you tell me, like, I don't think here we can expect more than this from AI. Of course, we can apply our own some knowledge here, and this is the way to structure the information. Once you're done with these 4 categories, you can go to dashboard, and you can say, hey, I have some extra information on Belize, travel to Belize, and in addition to this emotional arguments, marketing arguments, headlines, I want to inject some more data-driven arguments, some facts, numbers, figures, right? Some scientific evidences. You can always pick up a authority URL. It can be Wikipedia detailed tour guide on travel to Belize. You can inject that and power up Athena. Once you do that, along with your own information, it also has information that you find is most useful for your content creation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So before I go there, I wanted to touch some important ideas here. Why it is important to focus on demographics before you dive into psychographics, because you will use psychographics to understand what's happening right inside person's head. But before you go there, you first need to understand uh, where you are, what is your location, what is the gender, location, occupation, marital status, experience, education level of this person. Because the decision based on demographics alone is still too broad to sell anything interesting. And if you try to use demographics exclusively, right, and that's what people do most of the time, they go to LinkedIn or they try to filter this information, but that's called LinkedIn prospecting. There's a difference between prospecting and doing actual buyer persona deep dive research, right? So here, if you are just using demographics exclusively without semantics, that means the search, what people are searching, and the psychographics like pain points, dreams, desires, suspicion. Using demographics alone, you will have tough time selling anything to anyone. That's something I think I don't need to like elaborate more on that. Location and vertical are important. Location is easier to become the best, and only one option, like only default option in one location. Then you try to do it in the 10 different locations simultaneously. Now we are in online world, so location can be interpreted in a different way, right? Location can also be a channel, social media channel. Location you can interpret in a virtual sense, right? There can be different interpretations of it, but you cannot become best and only option on the whole global level, right? That's true. That's something that we need to understand. So we need to really narrow it down. And that's why this location and vertical is also important. Why vertical is important? Because problems, language, biases that this person has in one vertical is different from the problems, language, biases, or the urgency level of those problems in other vertical. Vertical is really important. Yeah, again, you can see that B2B, when people say B2B, it's not a vertical, it's not a specific enough. For me, I travel to Belize is even a vertical because it's very specific to that problem pain point, right? Travel to another place has a different urgency levels. Travel to different place has another biases, another language can be used, or problems are different. So when I say anything in CrawlQ about niche or vertical, it's always related towards this problem solution space. Um, Again, for example, there are different urgency levels, right? Some might have fundraising as an urgency for some people. Then there are people who have different way to access engineers, developers, right? In this scenario, you might have different, in this travel to Bali's case, you might have access to tour guide in a different way from one place to other place, right? You might have different access to talent. You might have different access to partners. So this vertical is super important because it really helps you to keep focused on the one problem at one time, right? So I would say B2B is not a vertical, or 3D printing itself is not a vertical, but 3D printing software for blah blah blah, like or something, right? Very specific is a vertical. Experience is important. I won't go into too much detail here. Cheryl, okay. See you next time. It's good you joined us. She has to go for another meeting. Okay. Thank you, Cheryl, for your time, and let's see next time when you have more questions. Okay. Company size. I don't need to stress upon this. Why we need to specify a specific role of the people. That is also important. Sometimes what happens when we make the buyer persona, we need to really understand who is our customer. So the person who signs the check, right? The economic buyer in this case, is different than the end users, right? Because this person will give the approval. Suppose you are targeting a company where there are end users or engineers. These engineers are influencers, right? They are not your customer. These engineers are not your customer. Your customer is the CEO. Your customer is somebody who exchange money for goods and services, and that's the customer. So keep in mind when we are talking about Fred and we are talking about buyer persona, the influencers are different, or the end users of your product or service are different. The real customer is a person who exchange money for the goods and services. That's the person who signs the check, right? And sometimes the company size matters, because if you're targeting only 1 to 5 small startup company where there are only one of 3, 4, 5 people are working, then CEO most of the time, founder is most of the time, is the person who is economic buyer, right? But when we are talking about a company of size 50 and more, then you have more buyer personas. So you can also create different workspace for engineers separately, focusing on their pain points. For vendors, for the director of marketing, you can create multiple buyer personas, but you need to figure out where your skill sets are there and who is the right person you are going to talk. Is account manager is the person that you are going to talk, and you're fully focused on that person, right? And that's where your service, product, and your skill sets are also there. So you need to identify a sweet spot where there is an intersection between your skills and the person that you are going to talk. And when this intersection happens, that's your sort of a starting point for buyer persona. But in this process, all the time, you also need to find out who is sort of economic buyer. Now, traffic channel is also very important, because you cannot focus on all traffic channels. You can be good at LinkedIn, but not at the same time good at LinkedIn and Instagram also, because each traffic channel has its own tone, right? Or has its own language. We use this information of traffic channel, but not really that we can still figure out what tone to use when you have Instagram as a traffic channel. This is something kind of a research that we have to do more. Now, I already explained through another example, psychographics. I wanted to just quickly take this approach where we want to explain Athena. So always your customer, your Fred, has journey, right? He's unaware of the problem, and your job is to move this person, Fred, from unaware to aware situation. In the next stage, you wanted to move this person from aware to interested. He's aware of the problem, and now he's interested in your solution. Now in the next stage, he's interested and he's evaluating where to buy your solution or service or product. And finally, he has already made his mind to purchase your solution. Then there are different approaches, specifically the content are different, right? When you are targeting only when the Fred is unaware of the problem itself, then, and you're moving or you are educating this person, Fred, then you're targeting blog post, infographic, short video. When he's aware of the problem and you wanted to present your solution, you're presenting to Fred reports, white papers, ebook, diagnostic tools, webinars. When he's interested in your solution, you're really presenting evidences, case studies. These are like evidences in the court of law, where you wanted to take as much as evidence with you to convince the judge to have the case in your arguments in your favor, right? These are case studies, testimonial, product reviews, comparison chart, discovery meeting. It's all in this box, in this column. And finally, when he's evaluating, you're presenting trial, free offer, ROI calculators. So you see the content also change. And that's why this market research is designed in a way to cover not only this part, but also the detailed part here, right? That's the depth of market research. And that's why it is overwhelming, because you think you need to do everything in one time. No, this is evolving process. Market research, buyer persona is evolving process, because first when you start your workspace, you just need only 5 categories. Train Athena, try to create some minimalistic blog post, social media post, some short video, try to reach out to Fred, take some feedback from Fred, and then move this person in this journey, right? And then once you collect more information, feedback from Fred, then you incorporate those feedback information. So by design, CrawlQ allows you to establish that feedback, reverse feedback from Fred. No matter how Google Analytics shows you the results, no matter how AI get evolved, right? The validation of your message must come from Fred. Fred must like your content, and that's only the validation. No matter what tools, insights, intelligence, AI can provide you, this is the only person. Fred can only tell you that this content is good or not. You don't create content for yourself. You create content for Fred, and Fred is the only person who can tell if this content is good or not. So in this first place, you are sort of talking more in the industry problem, and you're on a high level. So you have a high focus, low detail. But when you move Fred from this stage to next stage, you start focusing on low level details and low focus on the industry and problem itself. You have more focus on the Fred specific problems, right? In the beginning, you don't need to too much focus on the Fred specific problems, but once you move him from one stage to other, you get too much specific on his problem focus, right? There are different types of personalization. So when I said you start with one person Fred and you use AI, you're sort of generalizing it. You're exploiting the mass desire in the Fred towards your solution or service. And when you train Athena, you're injecting in that mass desire some data-driven intelligence, some facts, numbers, figures, scientific evidence that is not yet there because you don't have case studies, testimonial at this stage, right? Why we will train Athena with some external source when we have our own case studies, testimonial, product reviews? That is more powerful, right, than to refer to third person. So this is why we can always change and train Athena on different levels. So first, when we are targeting only this blog post, infographics, we can inject some external URL. Again, when you have some marketing pages and when you have case studies, testimonial, you can inject those into training Athena and remove this URL. It is by design, it is like that. So once you inject one, you train Athena, it works only on that part, right? Once you move into your journey, customer journey, you can inject more useful informations, which is directly your case studies. So you see, we move from in the personalization space from mass desire to hyper personalized when this person is just about to press the buy button and put in the 3 digits of his credit card security pin, right? That at that time you have to be really hyper personalized at that stage of the decision making. Triggers, of course, when you are in the beginning, you start with high emotional triggers, but in the purchase end cycle, you have to be more highly rational in your arguments. And because you wanted to create a lot of trust at this stage that your solution, product, service will work. So that's kind of spectrum, right? Where you approach the buyer persona. So it's not only you're trying to figure out niche, but you're also trying to figure out what is your transformation mechanism from for taking your Fred from its current state to desired state. So it's a niche transfer mechanism and what your niche is willing to pay you as a price for this. So with CrawlQ, you can figure out these 3 things together, like your niche, your transformation mechanism, and the price or the offer. And that's why you see it's quite in depth here, because here it allows you to frame your promise. What are the different options, alternates in the market? Again, it confirms who is this solution or service for it. It's really important to confirm it back. Think of this structure as a sales letter structure, a detailed sales letter structure. If you're aware of how sales letters are designed, it's exactly designed in that way. And sales letter is not only finding the niche, but also your offer, your price, your core concept, your testimonials, influencers, case studies. So you can think this whole as a database of the arguments, marketing arguments at one place, right? And once you have this, it's almost like a search engine for you inside CrawlQ, right? Once you train Athena, and we haven't much talked about it so far, but you have created a search engine inside CrawlQ. You can always search as a single big problem. Think about that there is an AI assistant just sitting beside you, and you are asking this assistant, give me that file, give me that concept I wrote 3 days back. Hey, Athena assistant, give me from that drawer file number 369 where I have written something about single big problem of Chris, and this data is coming directly from your market research. For example, single big problem is struggling to find the best itinerary and looking for detailed tour guide. So it's a semantic in the sense that it understands the meaning of this query. It's not direct match. It's not like a search where you normally perform search in Excel, like find, replace, or something. It's exactly like how Google will perform search. Of course, Google might have a very big algorithm to do it, but you have created your own search engine site. It's like just finding this anything that you wanted to find out, single big roadblock, or if you know that something very specific was there where you you trained it, right? There also you can find some specific information that you needed. Now, why I wanted to show this to you, because this is exactly used during the content creation. When we call Write Me Athena, headline, any kind of tools that we call in content creation, in the background, it is smartly sort of trying to get the information from that search and then ask AI to create more information. So if you're following me, what we have done so far, we have collected all the argument, set up our workspace one time, lifetime, right? And now we are evolving this workspace as we understand Fred's journey, right? And now we are first time creating a blog. What exactly is happening here? All these blog or element that I wanted to develop, right? This is directly making a connection from that search, like 5 ideas for main topic of interest. If I do this and select and say write me Athena, it will write me exactly travel on budget to Belize, best places to visit in Belize, things to do in Ambergris, Belize, right? So it's exactly writing me. It's like I can write anything here and ask write me Athena, and it will connect back to my research, that research that I have done. You know, this for example, here, what is the single big result? What is the main call to action? You just select it and you say write me Athena, and it will bring you the main call to action that you have already written, their part. You can also even write news story blog post, or write me a 60 character news story blog post titled blah blah blah, right? So now what is happening here is you are trying to sort of align with your market research. This market research is also available here under this tab market, and you can develop your content around this research that you have done. Every time I want to try a single big pain, it will fetch me this single big pain point and write content around it. And I can just keep developing the content. And there are different tools to develop the content here. One is this write me Athena. So anything you select, you say write me Athena, it will work on this prompt, and it will try to create a post or title in this sense. When you say write me Athena, you select it. There are other, so I gave an instruction, write 60 character ultimate guide pillar blog post title, right? Now you can say this can be any pillar blog post title, right? But it comes up with something which is close enough, how to survive in jungle and live and live off the land. I think this is a bit far away. My earlier headline was quite close. Enjoy the best nightlife in Belize city, Belize. So this sometimes is random, right? Here you can see that earlier headline was quite close, but this time it gave me something which is I don't like. But there's something that there's something should be improved, or we should be continuously working on that. But you got my idea like what is our main idea. When we want to create blog, we can generate headline intros, we can go to the different competitor content. Here the best part to develop this blog quickly was to take these headlines which are already there and then expand on those headlines. So it helps help you to start writing your blog in different ways. So how to explore Belize on budget. This is our headline and this is the content. We can directly start this content like this. And this is what I think we already did it here. This blog was developed in multiple times. So you see this way it's not structured, right? But the information is here. So you can start from here. You can go to your competitor content. Best time to go to Belize on budget, right? Now this is the answer competitor. This one has this website. You can turn this content into questions. And from those questions, you will ask again answers. And those answers are exactly like asking the concept from the Athena, our assistant, right? So in that sense, whatever if this question is sort of close-ended, then you will have a close-end answer. If this question is open-ended, then it will have an open-ended answer. Right, so for example here, what is the best weather in Belize? What is the best time or best weather? The best weather in Belize is from December to April. So this is the answer, right? That is in the context of this question. When does Belize rainy season begins? So it gives me like close-ended answer. If it's open-ended, then it will give me descriptive answers. But the way here to research your blog is very specific because all the time you get answer is close to your market research. That's the main idea here, right? And whatever you develop here with Write Me Athena and different tools is also close to your market research. So the whole idea of this app is keep yourself as close as to your market research. And then you have your different competitors, their headlines, what different topics you are going to cover in this blog, right? That these topics are also here if you want to optimize it for the search engine, because most of these topics are coming from the competitors, top 10 competitors. Then you have reviews, questions. If this is from Quora, then you also get some questions, reviews. Question, what does it mean to train with URL? Does that mean Athena will scrape the URL for insights? The first part is correct. The Athena will scrape the URL, but not exactly in the same way. So it will take that content and convert that content into some questions, concept, and then those answers will be in accordance with the market research that you have done. So when you train Athena with this URL, that means you're trying to generate extra insights based on the content, but not exactly the same content. You're not using the exact same content, but using that content to create concepts and answer those concepts in the way we have designed our workspace. So that means we are creating extra knowledge, right? Extra insights, extra numbers, figures, facts that we can inject into our content. Does that answer your question, Stephanie? How many and what kind of credits are used when we train with URL? When you train with Athena, it's using 600.
Sorry, Harsh, can you repeat that again? What kind of, what does it mean to train with a URL?
Yeah, the training with URL means that you are scraping the content of this URL, right? Once you scrape the content, AI will extract concepts. So it will turn this content into questions. Exactly what we did here with the competitor content. If you have noticed here, what we did here was we turned this content into some questions. The same way, when you scrape URL, the content, these are converted into some questions. And then these questions are answered one time in the background using the information that we have in our market research, right? So that way you are not using this content. Actually, you are using this content to inspire some concepts, ideas, questions. And those questions are then used for training Athena. You see, it's kind of a indexation or search database that we are creating with this question and answers, right? And then we are going to use this information in content creation. So that means we can be we can fully assuring ourselves that we are not going to use exact competitor content. It's not going to be the same sentences. It's going to be an extra intelligence around those competitor content. 600 credits are used every time you train Athena. You can train Athena multiple times as you progress. It's not a good idea to train it every time, because here in my earlier explanation, I said, as you move in the journey, you collect more case studies, testimonial. You don't need outside validations. You have enough inside validations, your case studies, testimonials, product review. That's where you wanted to train Athena. So if you have one page where everything is there, case studies, testimonials, you can just put that URL and train Athena again. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm almost 10 minutes over from my time. Please ask any question that I have not covered so far. I have not covered the full app. It's quite difficult to do it in 1 hour call. There's a whole part about the sales copywriting that is completely quite big itself. In the sales copywriting, there are several sales letters, email content, right? And that's something that you can try yourself. If you are done with 5% market research and you're comfortable that you have covered many aspects, variety of aspects, there's this webinar script which is almost like 30-35 pages, and it's quite extensive one. You can try this one. And again, when I say sales letter, the idea here is to provide you like 80% of the structure and outline, and the next 20% work is just to go through that structure, fill in the remaining gaps, and you have the same tools there. Write Me Athena, your market research, headline intros, every tool that you have in AI content writer, you also have in the sales copywriting section module as well. So unlike other content writing tool, you don't need to provide it every time with the pain point problem, right? It has a database of all the information that you have collected, and also AI is helping there to come to that right information. And you train Athena, and then you have your inside search engine like this. I showed it before. And that search engine is sort of a kind of internal search or assistant that helps to create more content on the fly. So in this app, as compared to other app, you're dynamically creating an conversation between user and the language models. So Athena is an interface which communicate with user, get that information, index that information, and then communicate with the language model when user need to create extra content like this, right? So Write Me Athena is then exactly trying to communicate with the language model. Train Me Athena is trying to collect and structure this information. So hope this webinar is quite useful to understand this. If you are focusing really on the niche specific content, then this is quite useful. But if you're focusing on very generic content and that your goal is to drive a lot of traffic on your website, then I think there are other apps that can help. But once your goal is to really get paying customers or even high sort of conversions, right? Your goal is to have conversions, then this can really help you, because you're going to be super specific. Not only you are going to be super specific, but consistent in your message all the time, because you don't have to think again what was the problem, what was the single big pain point, what was the suspicion, because it's already there in the database. When you just need to start the content without worrying about that much. That consistency is inbuilt here as a part of this app and the way it is set up. So differentiation, like sort of specific way to target or talk to Fred, right? Very in a specific way and in a consistent manner, and keep and evolving this discussion as Fred move from one stage to the another stage of buying journey. That's the idea. That's the vision here. Now, how much it is close and to reality is of course evolving. I'm not promising that it's 100% we are there, but we are making good progress in that direction. Any other question that that I can help with? Output generation credits are again question from James. What actions cause me to spend them? So in order to answer this, there are some resource here, right? You can refer back. So when you do the sales copywriter, like the sales letter one time is costing 500 credits, you generate those answers. I just showed question answers, 40 credits. Exactly, if you ask me the definition, it's not equal to words, because you can imagine we process more than 40 words behind the scene. It can be sometimes 200 words that you process. But what you see on your screen and with our averaging, it's almost 40 credits that you see on the screen or the words, but it's not like that. We still discounted the words that you see on the screen in front of your eyes by sort of multiplying it with 0.80 or sometimes 0.7. So it's very hard for me to explain, but it's just a limit so that we can manage the resources. You can see, like if you have a bank account, right? If you have a credit card, monthly there is a limit on that credit card. If you cannot draw more than that, because if you draw more than that, the bank will go bankrupt. Here's same thing applies here. This whole setup can go bankrupt if we don't have these limits, because then everyone start using that, and then the expenses are much more than what we can pay. So if you understand what I'm trying to say in terms of bank account or a credit card, the same concept here. Output generation credit limit. It's a risk management for the application. And these are exactly the credits are described here, but it's hard to, if we make them exactly to the words, that will be very difficult, because sometimes the AI provides exactly 40 words and sometimes it provides garbage. Then as a user, you will start complaining again that I have most of these generated words are not or duplicated or garbage. Why am I getting charged, right? So to create some kind of application and consistently applying some kind of limits then to them, it's very hard job actually. It's very hard part to come up with these numbers. But again, hopefully you will understand why banks have limits on credit cards, on your account, how much you can withdraw. That's just to protect the system from not going bankrupt. Does that answer your question, James? Okay, the silence means
Sorry about that. Yes, it does answer my question.
Okay, great.
I'm sending you another question though.
Or you can speak or you can type in, up to you.
Here, I already had it all typed out.
Can me Athena cost 600 credits when I use a company website URL will call to go through all the pages and links? No, it will only go through the content that is there on that page, not all the links and pages, because that means you're training many URLs. That was not the idea here, because we initially started also with this idea that we wanted to take the whole website. But problems with that is, again, we are mixing or polluting our workspace, because we wanted to be very specific in the workspace, right? And if I crawl the whole website, this website might have concepts which are not really travel to Belize, but that concepts might be travel to Indonesia or travel to somewhere else, right? And then we are same as Google's page 1, 2, 3, 4. It comes up when you search something.
Right. Well, I'm trying to. I haven't signed up yet, so I'm trying to determine what plan would be the best for me.
Right.
And that starter plan, based on 600 credits, that, I can do what, 15 pages, which isn't a whole lot. And then I would have to wait another month to do anything else, right?
And when you buy one code, right, you
Yeah.
have like 10,000 credit. 10,000 credits is not like equal to 10,000 word. They are much more than that. I can tell you already. 10,000 credit means almost like 16,000 words, or I cannot say on numbers.
Right. However, if I want to train Athena on 15 pages, that will use 9,000 credits.
No, all the time only 600 credits, and it's not
Hold
cumulative.
on, wait. 600 credits for each page, though, right?
No, only one URL. A URL can have 100 page. I don't know. A URL can be ebook. URL can be one simple landing page. Just one URL, and that URL, I don't know how many. I'm not talking about links in that URL. I'm talking about the content of URL itself. For example, this URL, right, has a very big content. It's almost like 95 pages. If I put this URL, then all the information on this page will be sort of crawled, right?
Right.
And not like the links inside it, because then it's a never-ending loop. It's just like a then website, and you don't want to do that. You want to have one specific blog reference which is really specific to your problem pain point.
Right. Now, if I do a company's URL, there would be several pages or several different URLs, because each page is a different URL.
No, when you say company website URL, when you're saying only CrawlQ.ai, that's a home page. But when I have a specific URL of this blog, right? Because there's a difference between the domain name and the URL. When I say URL, I specifically mean the actual link of that page, right?
Yeah.
And when I say domain name, then it is CrawlQ.ai. And we don't want that, because that if this domain might contain several ideas which can pollute our workspace. So we wanted to have very specific URL on which we wanted to train. Does that make sense?
You are making sense. I guess I'm just not understanding something. It just seems to me if on, for instance, if I wanted to do some pages on CrawlQ.ai, if I had 10 pages from that website that I wanted to do, it would cost me 6,000 credits, right?
So currently it is only designed that you can do one URL. If you do it one more time, then it replaces your earlier information, right? So you don't want to train on many URLs. You just want to train on one URL that is your short, right? That this page contain maximum information that I want. Of course, in future we want to add that, right? We wanted to add your ability to exclude URL, include URL, but this functionality is not yet there. Every time that you wanted to do, that will cost each run by 600 credits. So this feature is not yet there, but in future, if this feature is there, then you wanted to exclude or include URL. And every time you train, it costs 600, right? If you include at one time 10, then obviously it's 10 times 600, 6,000 credits. But you don't want to do that. Why you want to do that? You will not do that because...
Well, because I'm trying to train Athena on a brand, on a whole brand, not just on, one page of a website, but on everything about that brand, not just, I mentioned earlier I was doing cruise lines. So in this case, it's AMA Waterways. They have 16 different ships, and each ship has a description, and each description is on its own URL, its own page. So
But-
wouldn't I be then doing it for each one of those pages?
But is these 16 pages are necessary for one buyer persona, or they can be for different buyer personas? Because I can imagine that you're targeting a specific buyer persona, right?
Right. It would be all for the same persona. Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand there could be some exceptional use cases like this where you wanted to inject so much information, but having too much information is against our basic idea or vision, right? We wanted to have super specific information. So even if you inject the 16 different pages and it create our information overload, and we are just reproducing the same content which is already there on that website, right? You wanted to be very specific when you wanted to produce content. Less is more always. But I understand your use case, and there are some exceptions. Of course, in this case, there is an exception because the useful information is spread throughout that website. That's what I understand from you.
Well, now I'm trying to understand your point of view too. You might know more than I would assume you know more about this than I do. But yeah, I would think in my case, useful information is spread out on the whole website.
Yeah. Then in that case, there is a cost involved that you need to sort of accumulate this and train on multiple pages. Our goal here was to keep it very specific. We tried actually on the whole website. Results were not good. Why it was not good? Because it mixed up too many content. Imagine that I'm targeting protein powder for a young woman who is trying to be into the Olympics, sports protein powder, very specific sports protein powder brand, right? Now I get a website, and this website is not only talking about the specific protein powder for women athlete, but also for men athlete, for children, for the 60-year age. If I put that URL on the whole website, my whole workspace get polluted and I don't get the right results. So that was the design choice to keep it like that. But I know that there could be exceptions to this. And then once we create those exceptions, like in your case, if you wanted to accommodate your case, then of course you will be training Athena on 10 different times or the 16 different pages. But currently we don't set it up like that. We only set it up one URL at one time. So when you replace it with new URL, the earlier information is gone, new information is created. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
I do understand it. I just, I see that as I don't want to be negative. This is no, and I'm going to have to try it. I'm going to have to try it and see how it works out.
Sure. So, of course, I spend time on the demo. So sometimes I drop a link because, of course, you can buy it from AppSumo, but we also have some sort of seats that we wanted to sell directly from website so that we get some sort of direct revenue. You know that how AppSumo almost 70% is gone. So I drop here a link if you make your mind to buy from us. There's some extra benefit of this call that we have conversation and also some learning credits, one time 5,000 learning budget or credit that you can use. So if you make your mind, then you can buy it from here as well.
Okay, thank you.
And any one of you who you want to help us with that, please take this link and share it among your network or friends, so we can get some more help from these hours or time that we spend here. Okay, everyone, thank you so much again. And if you have questions, I'm still here. You can follow us on Slack channel. You can join Slack channel once you join. We have Facebook group. You can drop your questions there. I'll post a recorded version of this also, so you can watch it later. Anything that comes to your mind later also, just drop your question as an email to this email address, support@quantumsolution.com. So
I've got one more question.
Go ahead.
And I put it in there. What is a workspace and how should I determine how many I may need?
Right. The workspace is very specific to a buyer persona, thread. So if you have 5 different threads in the same business, then you want to have 5 different workspace. If you are a freelancer, if you're working for another company and the company is giving you projects or the different content catering to different buyer persona. You can have as many as workspace as possible. So in short, one workspace refer to one buyer persona.
One workspace refers to one buyer persona. So in my case, selling cruises, I could have a workspace for cruise enthusiasts. I'm sorry, that was me. I could have a workspace for cruise enthusiasts, which is general, but
Yes,
then another workspace for AMA waterways, river cruises,
right,
another workspace for another supplier.
right,
So I would need quite a few different workspaces then too, wouldn't it?
right. Because then you can really create sales pages which are different on the website for each of these buyer persona, and you can map out their journey and their decision process. And you can really send them hyper personalized messages when you track them once they are landing on your web page on the sales page. So you can create different sales page tailor-made to different buyer personas if you create different workspaces, right?
Right. So really getting back to training for just a second, then really what I need to do is search for those pieces of pillar content that really give a punch. You know, they talk about everything instead of relying on having to do it multiple times because I can only do it once.
Right, right. And we are also creating a library of documents, so you can use them as a template. So how to write infographic post, blog post, how to write a list blog post, pillar blog post. So for example, to show you here what it looks like, we are testing this. What you are going to do is you're just going to copy paste this information. You will use Write Me Athena. It has a lot of instructions also, like how to make this blog quite useful. But you see the blue lines, right? The blue color thing. You just need to select and then say Write Me Athena, because it knows exactly what was a niche headline, niche sub headline, single big desire, vertical, 8 suggestions if you are new to the main topic of interest. So if you just select in the background, it reads 8 suggestions if you are new to travel to Belize on budget. 8 suggestions if you are new to 3D printing. And it spit out the 8 suggestions based on also your market research that you have done. So business dreams is there, your main topic. You can describe your different topics that you cover. You see, it's almost talking to Athena in the same language the way it was trained. So we restructured these templates, and you can copy paste this and then use first Write Me Athena to create outline. And then there are other tools, obviously, like question answer tools. There are tools like headline intro. You have competitor content. You have different ways to create highly researched, very specific content. So these templates will be highly useful, I think. We have many of them: discovery call, social media posts, bios, and this is kind of evolving library of templates.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so any last question I can have from Stephanie, this Razon?
No, this has been helpful. Thank you. I did all of the market research and stuff. And so the part that I found interesting was when I did the blog outline, it would show the blog outline and the prompts and all the different things. And then I used the Write Me Athena. And so that was helpful too. So it's a learning curve, but I'm inputting as much as I can to the market research. I guess my question for you, Harsh, is it recommended to complete at least minimum 50% of the market research, all the different questionnaires, or like 30%? Like how deep do we need to go into that? I know I want to aim for 100 to model after excellence, but
No, I would say aim first for 5% of the market research, because I showed you this graph, right? It was really important, this table. Because you just don't want to create content for yourself. You want to create content for Fred, and you want to get validation and feedback from Fred, right? So I showed you this table, and you just need to do first 5%, create some blog post. You yourself cannot verify if you are in the right direction. You need to get some feedback from the thread, from the person. You can just show it to someone who is kind of representation of your niche, right? You can ask some feedback, and 5% research is good enough to get that feedback. Once you get that feedback, then proceed on the next steps. So don't think this market research you have to do it one time, right? You can evolve it, and that's how it is designed. Because most of the time, what you miss is this feedback loop when you create content. You don't have any way to incorporate that feedback which comes from the market. So my recommendation is only do 5% of the research, produce some content, ask someone in your team, someone you think is a representation of thread, get some feedback, then proceed to next 10%, 50%, or whatever it is. Because these templates, if you see, is also designed in this way. So some of these templates you can already like cover when you are 5% of the market research, but some of them are designed when you're 80%, and even this one when you are 800% of the market research, because this is really a long form sales letter, and it touch upon everything that is there in the market research. It need all these categories, basically team, FAQ, offer, asset links. So now you maybe you understand what I'm trying to say. It's not necessary to jump on everything at one time, because then you will miss the opportunity to get the feedback from the friend. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Thank you. And it looks like the how to blog post template requires 80%. Is that what I just saw on the far right?
No, it's 5%, right?
5%. Got it. Okay.
Because this is a top generic content. That's what I said when I explained this table. High focus, like high level industry focus. When we are sort of trying to understand the mass desire of the thread, we're not going at this stage into testimonial case studies, because that's where we start, right? And you
Got
can,
it.
of course, quickly develop this approach if you are in a rapid mode in maybe 1 week time, because but the essential part that you don't want to miss is this feedback from Fred, right? This feedback is really important. You don't create content for yourself; you create content for Fred.
Got it. Okay. And then, okay. I think that's good for now.
Yeah, please share your questions later also if there are more questions.
Oh, that was the question that I had. So can you train Athena as far as like, let's say I have an ebook, rather than giving Athena an actual URL, am I able just to upload content into it? Or would I actually have to import that into a URL and then give you the URL?
This is something that right now we don't have, but we have in the roadmap an ability to upload a document also here. So add URL or add a document. That is almost like backend is done, but we could not yet finish the testing part of it. But right now, no. But in future, yes, you will be able to upload a PDF or a Word doc. We have to still finalize that. But if you have an ebook in the form of, let's say, a document, I cannot say right now it's a Word doc or a PDF or maybe both, but that should be possible in near future.
Copy that. Thank you.
Okay. So shall we close this call?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate you stay on the call, and I could answer many of these questions. And please feel free to follow up if you have more questions. Have a great day ahead there, and bye bye for now. Bye bye.